So when you're designing a new distillery, how important is the visitor and the visitor attraction side of it?
Well, like it really, that's really driven by the client. Like the client attitude to how they want to approach the visitor, what type of visitors they're trying to bring in. Um, like I think now we've got kind of clients that have got a bit more like understanding of what they're trying to achieve in the market. So I would say most of the time we're not doing, kind of a visitor centre with a cafe that's doing teas and coffees for coach parties. I think that's kind of not happening with craft distilleries because the value, the cost of actually doing all that stuff, it never makes any money.
And the staffing costs.
Yeah, you've got your staffing costs, all the fit out costs, and if you're only selling tea and a scone, you never kind of recoup that, especially in like that first kind of 5 years. You don't really know exactly who your customers are going to be. So if you set up for volume and then you don't get the volume,
Yeah.
like how do you deal with that? What we're seeing more, I think, is people almost phasing like how they do it. So they'll do something on like off the bat, like you still need to have something for visitors to come to, but it's not all of your visitors all at once. So
Yeah.
you can have a smaller scale thing that's of the quality you want to try and hit, and then see how that plays out. Or like we have seen other distilleries when they get to year 4 or 5 have ended up having to redo their visitor offer because they've not quite caught off the bat who they're going to attract.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of kind of moving parts with that, and obviously there's a big budget consideration to visitor spacings. Like that is effectively where you spend your money. So some people are looking at, right, we'll do production for the first few years, then you can cash flow against casks, or you might have sold casks off or whatever.
Yeah.
So you might be able to then use that money more effectively by putting it into the right visitor offer.
Yeah.
I think, and it, depending on their attitude, is it, I think more and more people are getting away from here's a distillery and here's the visitor centre.
Sure.
It's like trying to kind of amalgamate the two and make sure that even if somebody comes to your distillery and doesn't do the tour, they get a really good handle on that you're producing whiskey. Like you're not just selling them a scone. Like
Yes.
So there's a kind of, I think, it's whiskey tourism has obviously grown and grown and grown, and you've got your kind of Diageo kind of brand homes, which they're very similar in terms of what you see or what they put out to a customer. Craft guys have got they've got a much freer reign, so they can really tweak exactly what it is their offer is and who their customers are and how much money they want to try and kind of get out of each visitor. I think it's there's a lot more kind of nuanced discussion around visitors. It's not just we need to get X thousand visitors through the door
Yeah.
every month or whatever.
And then there's the balance between short-term income, so that 40-something pounds per visitor average in Scotland, and long-term brand building.
Yeah.
So you might not make any money directly.
No,
it might not be profit making.
Yeah.
But in the long term, you've got it's called
You've got
consensual marketing, isn't
Yeah.
it? Where someone's come to you to be marketed to.
Yeah,
and they'll go home and they'll buy your bottle loyally for the rest of their lives.
And I think I think clients now are much more understanding of that as well. So, we've had some clients who their visitor side has been seen as a marketing spend. So it's not necessarily come out of the building budget.
Yeah.
It's come out of a marketing budget.
Yeah.
But then they're also looking at a picture over like a 10-year, so they're forecasting for like the profits being up here at year 10 rather than thinking in that in the first few years, is it going to cost me money or is it going to generate any money?
Yeah.
But it's it's a really complex kind of funding, and as soon as you predict something in a business plan, it's probably wrong but you know, like you're kind
Ain't
of
that the
working
truth?
within kind of parameters, you know. So I think it's a really interesting moment for the industry because you know people can see like Johnny Walker experience is purely a visitor experience, and people talk about how good it is, but like they're really understanding of who their target audience is as well. So I think like trying to balance out for a new distiller, finding your audience is actually the critical piece, rather than building something right on day one.
Yeah.
Like it's if you can afford to and you can plan for allowing that, you know, establishing who your client base is, it's a better thing in the long term.
Put it off
Yeah,
until down the road. Yeah.
which is probably talking myself out of a job, but
Only part of the job.